The problem isn't that I'm alone on this train. The problem is that I'm starting to think I'm the only thing on it that's actually human. My name is Jeff Morales. I've been a security contractor for 6 years, mostly graveyard shifts at warehouses and abandoned retail blocks. Low stakes. When I saw the listing for the Northern Star, a private long-distance line running through the Appalachian corridor, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. Triple the hourly rate, a private cabin. All I had to do was walk the length of the train every 90 minutes. My sister Katie needs chemotherapy. Her insurance won't cover the new treatment. So when I saw that paycheck, I stopped asking questions I should have asked. Raymond, the hiring manager, was the first red flag I chose to ignore. He looked like he hadn't slept since the 90s. His suit hung off him like a burial shroud. His hands were perpetually cold and sweaty. He didn't even ask for my ID. He just stared through me, nodded, and slid over a heavy brass key and a laminated sheet of rules. "Jeff," he said. His voice sounded like dry leaves scraping across pavement. "People pay a lot of money to ride this train because they want to be left alone. Your job isn't to help them. It's to make sure they stay where they belong." The way he said belong made my skin crawl, like he was talking about livestock. I should have walked away, but Katie's last text was still on my phone. They said 6 months without the treatment. Please. I took the job. I took the rules, and I stepped onto a train that was already moving toward a destination that wasn't on any map I'd ever seen. The rules were yellowed at the edges. Some were mundane, some made no sense, and some made me want to run. Rule 1. Walk the full length of the train every 90 minutes. Do not skip a single car. Rule 2. If the train enters a tunnel for longer than 3 minutes, do not use your flashlight. Stay perfectly still and wait for the emergency lights. Rule 3. The dining car closes at 9 p.m. If you see anyone eating after this time, do not acknowledge them. Rule 4. If you see a young girl in a red dress, do not look her in the eye. If she asks for her mother, tell her your mother is waiting in the engine room, and walk away immediately. Rule 5. If a sleeper door is locked from the inside, it is no longer your jurisdiction. Do not knock, do not enter. Rule 9. If you see yourself walking the train, do not approach. Return to your cabin immediately. I climbed aboard. The door closed behind me with a sound like a coffin sealing. The Northern Star was beautiful in the way expensive caskets are beautiful. Polished brass, dark wood. The passengers didn't look up when I passed. They just stared at the mountains. One elderly man in car 3 was reading a newspaper from 1987. His eyes didn't even flicker. At 9:14 p.m., we entered the first tunnel. The lights died instantly, a surgical removal of light. I reached for my flashlight, but I remembered Rule 2. I froze. I counted. 1 Mississippi. 2 Mississippi. The wheels clacked against the tracks, but the sound was muffled, like we were underwater. That's when I felt it. A hand. Small. Cold. Impossibly gentle. It slid into mine like a child reaching for their father.
"Jeff?" The voice was high and sweet and wrong. "Jeff, is it time yet? Is it time to see Mama?" Rule 4. Angelica, the girl in the red dress. I couldn't see her, but I could smell her. Old lilies and wet copper, funeral flowers and blood. "Your mother is waiting in the engine room," I managed. My voice was barely a whisper. The hand squeezed mine, too hard. The bones in my fingers ground together. Liar. The emergency lights flickered on, sickly, red. I was alone in the corridor, but there were wet, small footprints on the carpet leading toward car 6. They were red, not water. Blood. And in the blood, I saw the outline. She was barefoot, but she didn't have 5 toes. She had 7.
At 10:23 p.m., I reached car 6. Most of the sleeper doors were open a crack, but door 6C was locked. I could hear a dragging sound inside. Heavy, wet, like a body being pulled across the floor. I walked past. Rule 5 said locked doors were in my jurisdiction. But then I heard the scream. It was short, cut off, and it sounded exactly like Katie. I used the brass key. I burst in. The room was empty, no furniture, just a floor covered in broken glass. The window had been shattered. At 10:23 p.m., I reached car 6. Most of the sleeper doors were open a crack, but door 6C was locked. I could hear a dragging sound inside. Heavy, wet, like a body being pulled across the floor. I walked past. Rule 5 said locked doors were in my jurisdiction. But then I heard the scream. It was short, cut off, and it sounded exactly like Katie. I used the brass key. I burst in. The room was empty, no furniture, just a floor covered in broken glass. The window had been shattered from the inside. On the floor, in the center of the room, was a child-sized red dress, and it was moving. Something inside it was breathing. I slammed the door and ran. The dining car wasn't empty anymore. Every table was full. People in Victorian dresses and 1920s suits sat perfectly still, staring at their plates. The plates were piled with hair, fingernails, teeth. Rule 3: do not acknowledge them. At the last table sat a woman with her back to me. She was wearing a modern business suit. My wallet was on the table in front of her. "Jeff," she said. She turned around. She had Katie's face, but the proportions were off. Her eyes were too far apart. "The shift is almost over, Jeff. Don't you want to see where the train goes?" I didn't stop. I ran for the engine room. I thought if I could stop the train, I could get out. I used the brass key on the red steel door. The engine room wasn't mechanical. It was biological. The walls breathed. The floor was soft, covered in muscle tissue and glowing veins. Embedded in the walls, fused into the flesh, were people, security contractors. Their bodies were half absorbed. Their mouths moved silently. "Help me. Let me die." At the center was the engine, gears grinding against exposed bone, and at its heart was a face, Raymond's face, stretched across the surface like a mask. "Rule 5, Jeff," the voice boomed in my head. "You opened door 6C. You broke the contract." Raymond stepped out of the shadows. His conductor's uniform was rotting. His eyes were black voids. "The Northern Star doesn't run on coal, Jeff. It runs on realization. The moment you understand you're never going home." He pressed the brass key into my hand. It melted. It fused with my bone. My fingerprints faded. My skin became wax. I looked at my reflection. My features were rearranging themselves into Raymond's. "Every train needs a conductor, and every conductor needs a replacement." I don't remember walking back to the platform. I just remember the pre-dawn darkness as a new train pulled in. A man was standing there, tired eyes, desperate. David Torres. I knew his name before he said it. I handed him the key. "David," I said, reading from a script I didn't remember memorizing. "People pay a lot of money to ride this train because they want to be left alone. Your job isn't to help them, it's to make sure they stay where they belong." He climbed aboard. The door closed like a coffin ceiling. In 6 hours he'd be standing where I am, and I'd be free. I turned to leave the platform. "Raymond." The voice was small, behind me. Angelica was standing there in her red dress, holding my old security badge. She smiled with too many teeth. "Is it time for the engine room yet, Raymond?" The loop isn't just for the guards, it's for the conductors too. The train doesn't let go. It never lets go. Angelica took my hand. Her grip was ice cold. "Come on, Raymond. Mama's waiting."
The problem isn't that I'm alone on this train. The problem is that I'm starting to think I'm the only thing that's actually human. And even that is starting to feel like a lie.